It was Yale week in Hamden. Did the men's ice hockey team beat their arch rivals? The women's ice hockey team was on the road looking for an important win. How did they fare? We have Robyn Brown live in studio to judge Kyle and Shane's women's basketball fantasy draft in a new segment called Robyn's Ruling. All that and much more on a special Valentine's Day edition of Bobcat Breakdown. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Ryan Flaherty. I'm joined tonight by two of Q30's finalist analysts, Shane Dennehy and Kyle Levasseur. Guys, how we doing?
Kyle, I am absolutely I'm doing fantastic. You know, it's Valentine's Day. I am lonely, but it's okay. We're having fun. We're having fun. Nothing I'd rather be doing. And honestly, that open is fire.
I'm sorry to hear you're lonely, Shane. I mean, I thought the two of us at the desk we'd be giving each other some good company. I mean, I didn't bring you any chocolates or any flowers today, but I did bring some heat for tonight's Bobcat Breakdown. It's going to be some great debate.
It's going to be good.
Ryan, how you doing, my man?
We're doing good. You guys are going to be in some great company in the next 30 minutes, so let's kick things off. The men's ice hockey team picked up yet another impressive win on Friday night, beating the Yale Bulldogs 4-0 in the 17th annual Heroes Hat Game. So guys, what was more important on Friday night, the fast start by the offense or Andrew Shortridge pitching another shutout?
Ryan, I mean, just an absolutely dominating performance from KU against their arch rivals Yale to win that one. But Kyle, I'm going to have to say the fast start. I mean, to just come, you got the home crowd behind you, and to just pepper Yale with 24 shots in the opening period, you get the opening goal. Just getting the crowd behind you, that's what you need. That's what you wanted. That's the fast start that you need. And it was just pedal to the metal against Yale and just constantly peppering them. And I think, honestly, just continuing that dominance in the game. And, I mean, Quinnipiac went on the power play 27 seconds into the game. That doesn't bode well at all for Yale and their momentum. So I think, honestly, Andrew Shortridge's shutout was a product of the fact that Yale was chasing the game the entire time, and KU just took advantage of that.
Well put, Shane. I mean, Quinnipiac got going right off the opening faceoff. Odin Tufto wins the opening faceoff and then almost scores less than 10 seconds in, and they never let up. They tallied 24 shots in the first period alone. The Yale Bulldogs shot 23 shots the entire game. So if you take that first period, they outshoot them the entire game, and Quinnipiac didn't let up. They win 4-0 in the end. Just a fantastic offensive display. Andrew Shortridge, he gets the shutout, but he didn't have to do too much. I mean, anytime you get a shutout, that's great statistically, but if you look at each specific save, I didn't see him have to make any crazy saves, so that's a testament to the defense and how often Quinnipiac was in the offensive zone, pressuring Yale's defense and allowing Shortridge to just relax and do his job.
I mean, just that opening period, I didn't really remember the puck being in Yale's zone at all. I mean, Quinnipiac's offensive zone at all, that was threatening, other than them, Yale just flinging the puck down the other end of the ice, just hoping to get a change.
The most impressive part of the whole thing, Shane, is the spotlight of the game. This is the biggest game in Quinnipiac sports. So when the spotlight is that strong, sometimes freshmen can wither under the pressure. But the Bobcats' younger members really stood up. Wyatt Bongiovanni, 4 shots in the first period alone. He almost scores in the opening 10 seconds. Ethan DeYoung is also in the first line at a freshman. He gets 3 shots in the first period. Peter Dilibertori, he has a couple shots in the first period. I mean, these freshmen were ready to go. The pressure of having all the fans on their feet, fans were lined up at 8 in the morning for a 7 p.m. game, and they didn't let it bother them. They just treated it like another game. They were ready to go, and that's a testament to Rand Pecknold really preparing them for how big this game is.
And I mean, like you said, the freshmen just contributing immediately. I mean, to have 12 freshmen coming in and all of them contributing, you got Falstrom scoring, Mike Lombardi scoring. I mean, 2 of your freshmen scoring in the biggest game of the year, absolutely unreal.
A great game indeed, but despite the team's dominance on Friday night, they struggled against Brown on Saturday. So the question is, who or what is most to blame?
Shane, I'll get this one started. The way I look at this, Shane, the Yale game is the big dance. Everyone's looking at that one. And then Brown is the quiz you have the next school day. So everyone's getting ready for the big dance. They're excited. And then you didn't study for that quiz the next day. And Brown, they're not a great team, but they're about 500. They're better than they have been in recent years. And Quinnipiac was just not ready for them. Rand Pecknold, after the game, said they just didn't prepare well, flat out. And that's something Quinnipiac really hasn't done well on Saturday games this entire year. Let's look at 5 of their 6 losses, Shane. This past weekend, they beat Yale on Friday night, absolutely dominate them, and then the Saturday game against Brown, they lose. It becomes a pattern throughout the entire season, going all the way back to the first ECAC hockey weekend of the year when they went on the road. They beat Harvard on Friday night, then they lost to Dartmouth on the road on Saturday night. The next weekend, they beat Rensselaer on Friday night, and then they lose to Union on Saturday night. Again, the Saturday night comparison, same exact matchup, Harvard and Dartmouth. They win on Friday night against Dartmouth, and then they lose to Harvard on Saturday. And then that UMass series, they win on Friday night and lose again on Saturday night. So what is it about the Friday night, Saturday night series? You know, if I was more experienced and everything and a coach, maybe I could figure it out, because Rand Pecknold surely is, I'm sure, working on figuring out what they need to do to prepare on that shorter turnaround, because what they do, they have a whole week to prepare for that Friday night game, and when they're facing someone else different on Saturday night, they don't have as much time to prepare. What do you think, Shane?
I mean, honestly, I think this has to be the emotional high of the Yale game. I mean, that's the game, you, like you said, Kyle, that's the game we all get up for. That's the one you want to go to. The crowd's lining up at 8:30 in the morning. Rand Pecknold's handing out pizza to everybody. It's just absolutely unreal. You've got the crowd behind you. They're all excited on a Friday night. You know, it's just such a great way to celebrate. But honestly, like you were saying, like the second games of the weekend, the ECAC, it's so jumbled up. Everyone can beat everyone. It's not a shoo-in to beat Brown. And Brown in 2019, they're doing pretty dang good. They're 7-3. They beat Union twice. They went down to the Three Rivers Classic down in Pittsburgh. They beat them there. And then they also went up to Schenectady and beat them there. Union's a great team. Quinnipiac's lost to them already this season. So it's not an easy game. You're not going to beat Brown. And obviously, the crowd, it's just not the same. It's just not. You're all these fans like, oh, it's the Yale game. We got to get tickets. They're adding.
And then no one goes to the Brown game.
And then no one. It's not the same. The buzz is different, you know. And you felt that in the UMass game as well. You know, it's the #1 team in the country. It's just not the same.
Unfortunately, guys, the bad news kept coming for the Bobcats as senior defenseman Brandon Fortunato underwent surgery Tuesday, to repair a broken fibula and a ruptured ankle ligaments. Fortunato was 3rd on the team in points with 28 and a huge part of the Bobcats' success on the power play. So, guys, who needs to step up in his absence?
Ryan, like I just mentioned a few moments ago, the freshmen have really stepped up, and I think Peter Levasseur needs to take his game to another level. I think he's been yeah, I think he's been great this year. But you know, when he has, I know. I mean, he was a 6th-round NHL draft pick. He's got you know what he can make. So I think that he can make up. You know, he's 4th out of defensemen in points on the team. So I think that he can step up. He's a very talented player. I think he can step up and try and, you know, it's gonna be a team effort again to fill the role that Brandon Fortunato is. And I think, you know, there's so many great options that Quinnipiac has, and I think he's one of them.
Okay, so what I'm a little, I disagree. So I'm a little confused, Shane, and why he's playing so well, but he needs to step it up. Because by that logic, I would think someone that isn't performing needs to step their game up. And I look at Cam Boudreau, another defenseman. He came into this onto this team halfway through the season. He's played 11 games so far, and he doesn't have any points. If this team is trying to drive all the way to Buffalo for that Frozen Four, the bus is going to have to be moving. They can't have any squeaky wheels. And right now, Cam Boudreau is that squeaky wheel on defense for the Bobcats. He only has 1 shot in his last 5 games. Yes, it is an adjustment, especially when you join a team halfway through the season and everyone else in the league has been playing college hockey for months. But Rand Pecknold obviously took him halfway through the season, expecting him to make an impact down the stretch and really like speed up his progress as a college prospect. So now with Fortunato out, they need someone to step up offensively. He's not stepping up offensively. So why are you choosing someone in Dylan Pretori who's been great offensively?
He has been great, but I want him to take that next step. Because honestly, I think he's taking Chase Prisky's role. That's what I think. You know, he's so talented. I think he can be that top-tier defenseman that they need. And obviously, the Las Vegas Golden Knights agree. They took him in the NHL draft. They want to use him. So I want him to take that next step up, become a bit of a leader. He knows what it takes. He's seen success so far. So I think he can step up. Obviously, Luke Shiplow also showing his senior experience scoring against Yale. So there's so many options. You got Brogan Rafferty, Peter Levasseur. They all need to step up. That's what this is. It's a team effort. And I know Cam Boudreaux. No, he's squeaky. He is. He's not.
What does stepping up look like, though? Because Dylan Bertori, he has over 10 assists this year. Is it scoring more for Dylan Bertori quickly?
I just think he's going to get more playing time, and I think he's going to capitalize. I just want this. He's so talented, and I think he really can take it to another level. He can score. He's
a great player. That's why I'm confused, because I would think you would want to choose someone that hasn't been playing great. I don't know. Ryan, what do you think?
I think both are going to be a big storyline coming up in the rest of the season. But let's move on to some women's hockey, where the Bobcats have been lighting the lamp at a great pace, scoring 12 goals in their last 4 games. The team's offense struggled early in the season, but has slowly improved since winter break. Is this offense built for a stretch run? Shane, let's start with you.
Ryan, I'm going to have to go with kind of, because I'm not completely sold on the offense. I think, obviously, Randy Marcon and Lexi Agia have stepped up a little bit in recent game. Marcon has a goal in 4 straight, Lexi Agia 3 in her last 4, and obviously they scored big goals against Yale to steal a point against them and also to get the win against Brown this weekend. But the one person I'm concerned about is Melissa Samoskevich. She's seeming kind of going on these stretches where she's going a little dry, and Quinnipiac needs their best player to be scoring goals in the biggest at the end of the season. I mean, she's a senior. She wants to go out on top, so I don't think creeping towards the playoff is really what she wanted, but she needs to step up a little bit and try and contribute. I know she's on the top line, but other than just she has 1 assist over the weekend, I think she needs to also be contributed with a little more goals as well.
Contributing more goals. Shane, she only has 1 goal in the last 8 games, and she's the leading scorer. I am very concerned for this team making a run down the stretch. It's not going to happen. I think they might squeak into the playoffs. We'll get to that quickly. But the playoff run is out of the question with the way these guys are scoring right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm not planning a playoff run. I'm just talking about making these playoffs, because there's just – the ECAC is so talented.
It's the best conference in women's college hockey.
Absolutely, just the talent. I mean, Lauren Gable for Clarkson, 200 career points. I mean, that's just insane to think. And then, but Melissa Samoskevich, I don't know. It's just such a mystery to me. There's so much hype. She had 32 points her freshman year, and then she's gone down since. I don't know what it is. She's getting called to the U.S. national team, but when her college team needs her most, she's not coming through.
Speaking of the playoffs, guys, the Bobcats picked up a crucial 3 points in the ECAC hockey this weekend with a 2-2 tie at Yale on Friday night and a 4-2 win at Brown on Saturday. They currently sit in 8th place in the conference with just 4 games left to play. Yale is just 2 points behind Quinnipiac, so the fight for the playoffs is on. Guys, can this team make the playoffs, and how will they do in those last 4 games?
Shane, I'll get this one started. They will make the playoffs, and they will be that 8 seed. They have 4 games left in conference play. So let's take a look at their schedule. Rensselaer is the next game coming up. It's always a tough battle between the Bobcats and the Engineers. I think they tie that one. It was a 1-0 game early on in the year. They'll be at home against RPI this weekend. I think that's a tie. Union, that should be an easy win for the Bobcats. They're way out of the Dutchman's League. St. Lawrence and Clarkson, though, that's the toughest road trip all year for them as they're on the road in North Country. And both SLU and the Golden Knights, those are 2 of the best teams in the country, and they already beat Quinnipiac early on this year. So I think, unfortunately, for the women's team, they'll get that 8 seed and have to face Princeton in the first round on the road. Princeton only has 1 conference loss this year, which was against the reigning 2-time defending champs, the Clarkson Golden Knights. I think they get swept on the road at the Hobie Baker rink. And unfortunately, it's going to be a tough ending for Melissa Samoskevich's fantastic career. And sometimes it's just timing for someone. She's definitely qualified. It's like when you apply for a job, Shane. You might be qualified, but maybe there's just not an opening for the job. I think she missed that opening when a few years ago the team was definitely qualified.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm going to have to say this weekend, they gotta sweep this weekend. It's a tough one. I'm going to give them the Union win is a shoo-in. That's a shoo-in. Union's awful. They're going to absolutely beat them. RPI, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they get it done at home. Granted, they've been struggling a little bit. And then at St. Lawrence and at Clarkson, that's tough, like you said. I'm going to say they lose both, but both of these games were really close. They played Clarkson really well, 3-2, and then obviously lost by 1 to SLU as well. So I don't know. Those games aren't a complete throwout, but they're probably going to lose those.
Guys, it's going to be a toss-up, and it should be a great fight for the playoffs. And with that, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to analyze the men's basketball team's thriller against Rider, and we'll have a fantasy basketball draft you won't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown, and thanks for staying with us. We've got a lot more to cover, so let's get right back into the action. Let's talk about the men's basketball team coming off a thriller comeback win over Rider. Before, the men's basketball team was down 9 points with under a minute to play on Tuesday when they stormed back to beat Rider 98-88 in overtime. It's more impressive that they came back, or more concerning that they played the way they did throughout the game?
Yeah, Ryan. Honestly, a very impressive win for Quinnipiac against a very tough Rider team that was picked to finish first in the MAC. But I'm going to have to say I was concerned with how they played a majority of the game.
Way.
Yes, it was awful. I mean, are you kidding me? They were up 8. They were up 8 with under 5 minutes to go in the first half, and they end up trailing by 1 because.
Yeah, that's a 1-point game at the half.
Yeah, but you were up 8. Yes, but the turnovers. This is what it is.
Shame.
Rich Kelly, season high 8 turnovers. Do you know what? His second highest is 6, which he had twice against Drexel and Rider. They're giving him a very tough game. They look sloppy They look sloppy. They're turning over the basketball. It's just not good. And honestly, you know how you beat a press? You score the basketball, and they weren't able to do that. So you stopped the other team from scoring, and they couldn't stop Rider. So Rider kept scoring, setting up the press, and that's how Rider ended up coming back at the end of the first half and getting the lead. And obviously, fortunately enough, Quinnipiac down the stretch got it done. But in regulation, they weren't what they needed to be.
They were always in the game, though.
They were, I know.
So a couple sloppy. Okay, so you're saying a few players had sloppy games, but they were still in the game, which I think is a testament to just how good this team is. After the game, players like Aaron Robinson were tweeting out that it was the best win he's ever been a part of. I was so impressed by this team's ability to face adversity and still go on. They're down 9 points in the final minute, and they're still able to send it to overtime and dominate in overtime. I see it as when you're watching a sports movie, Shane, you watch it and you're impressed because someone has a flaw. Someone is struggling, and they're still able to overcome. When you watch Rudy, he's not the most talented player, and then he finally overcomes it in the end. When you watch Miracle, they get crushed in the first few games, and then they can finally overcome in the end. So Quinnipiac, they're struggling in that last minute, but they're still able to overcome in overtime. To me, that's impressive.
Yeah, but they were down 9. Why are they down 9 points? Is it because they're playing good? They're in a good place because they're not down 9 points.
When we're looking at records, do we look at the last minute versus the end of regulation?
The final score in this game doesn't tell the whole story of how they played in regulation. That was one of the worst. That was probably the most upset I've ever seen Baker Deli on the sideline. He was so upset with how they were playing.
I'm sure he wasn't upset after the game.
Yeah, obviously, but he's still upset with how they were playing in the game because they weren't executing and they were playing bad.
Everybody loves a great comeback story, so I got to agree with Kyle. While the men's basketball team
Come on, Ryan.
While the men's basketball team has been battling it out in the MAC, the women's basketball team has won 43 straight conference games, including a 68-51 win over Canisius this past Saturday on Senior Day. With the NBA All-Star Game approaching, it got me thinking, what would a 3-on-3 Quinnipiac women's basketball fantasy draft look like? Shane, you won the coin toss before the show, so let's hear your first pick.
Oh, I'm so glad I got the first overall pick in this one, and I got the best player in the MAC. I got Erin McClure. You know, she's going to lead this team. She's the best basketball player I've seen in this conference. I mean, she can score with the best of them, and then she can defend the best with them. I mean, that Rider game earlier this season tells you all you need to know about what she can do.
Kyle, let's hear from you. Your first pick.
Ryan, with the second overall pick, I took Jen Fay. I think she's going to match up perfectly with Erin McClure as KU's leading scorer in last year's 2018 MAC tournament most outstanding player. I'll take Jen Fay any day.
Now we go back to Shane.
I went with Paula Charbonnet as my second overall pick. I mean, she can do it all. She's inside and out, and she's a great defender. So I'm going to take her. Plus now I have 2,000-point scorers on my team. So
no surprise there, the 3 top seniors. Now things get interesting. Kyle, back to you.
This is where things get interesting, and I think this is where I win it, Ryan. I take Taylor Hurd 4th overall. When we have a 3-on-3 battle, I need someone to stretch the floor, and who better than to take the player on the team that has scored the most threes this year, which is Taylor Hurd. She's going to be dropping trays from outside the arc all day when I take down Shane's team.
Shane, you gonna take that? What's your next pick?
No, I had to counter with a guard that I have complete confidence in, that she's a great leader and she can get it done on both ends of the floor. So I took Edel Thornton with my last pick. I need someone to handle the basketball. She's a solid leader. I think she'll be able to contain Taylor Hurd.
And Kyle, your last pick?
I like that pick, Shane, but I'm going to take Paige Warfel with the last pick in our draft. She's been probably Quinnipiac's hottest player as of late, stepping up for Jen Fay while she's been hurt. Paige Warfel scored a career-high 18 points the other day in the Bobcats' latest game, and she's going to be a key third player in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna need Paula Starmanet to do a job against her. She's been outstanding this season.
Kyle, it's every professional athlete's dream to get drafted. Maybe it doesn't matter much here, but that was a great draft. Both very good teams. Now we're going to toss it to our very own Robyn Brown in our new segment, Robyn's Ruling.
Thank you, Ryan. Taking a moment to analyze both Team Shane and Team Kyle, clearly both rosters loaded with talent, going to make this a difficult decision. Who's going to grab the advantage? So I figured let's start from the paint and work our way out. P for Pete. You got Paula Strautmanet and Paige Warfel. Essentially, both of these post players are going to cancel each other out. Both have savvy footwork, both dominant on the boards. So this brings us to the top of the key. You got Edel Thornton and Taylor Hurd. Now, Taylor Hurd, essentially the best three-point shooter in the MAC, already has tallied 42 three-point field goals to her name. But what does Edel Thornton have? Lockdown defense. She's studied and defended under Carly Fabry for the past 3 years. So when you go back and you look at the highlight film and you look at the shots that Taylor Hurd has had, you'd have to debate which ones are contested, which ones are uncontested. Likely 9 out of 10 of those shots are going to be contested by Edel Thornton. So it brings us to the final three. You got Jen Fay and you got Erin McClure. Last year's MAC's most valuable player of the tournament, and Erin McClure, the Rookie of the Year, preseason player of the year 2 years back to back. So who has the edge? Well, let's think of their similarities. Their size, it's only a 1-inch difference. Their leadership, they've been here. The quantity of the minutes that they've played. One has a mid-range game, one has a long-range game. So who has the edge? Undoubtedly, it's Erin McClure. Her ball handling, her skills, her speed, her agility, her Euro step, that's her bread and butter, her PB&J, the MAC to her cheese. No one in the MAC has been able to stop that shimmy shake hesitation, and that's why Erin McClure has had 1,000 points, 700 rebounds, 300 assists, and counting. This senior class, they have had 43 consecutive victories. 3 of those 5 seniors are on Team Shane. Robyn's Ruling, Team Shane for the win. Back to you.
Time for another quick break, but when we come back, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Final Roars. Say it with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnuolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. It's time for what you've all been waiting for, Final Roars. Kyle, you're up first.
Thanks, Ryan. Chase Prisky has a legit chance to be Quinnipiac's first ever Hobie Baker Award winner. Currently 4th in the fan voting, Prisky checks all the boxes for the award. Teamwork, dedication, integrity, exceptional play, humility, character, all the descriptors that the Hobie Baker website uses, Prisky showcases. With 83 candidates in contention for the Hobie, let's simplify why Prisky should be a top 3 finalist in the Hobie hat trick. Statistically, Prisky is tied for 1st in the nation in goals amongst defensemen. In a season that has been full of elite defensemen, Prisky has scored the most in all of college hockey. Prisky also leads all players in power play goals and is tied for 2nd in game-winning goals. But Prisky is also a two-way defenseman. He has been a cornerstone to the 3rd best defense in the NCAA that is allowing just 1.86 goals per game. And Prisky isn't just performing on some rinky-dink team. He is a senior captain that's been leading the 5th best team in the country, leading them both on and off the ice. Off the ice, Prisky led the Bobcats in GPA last semester with a .393 and is highly respected by his teammates, coaches, and reporters. As someone that has covered Prisky for the last 4 years, I find it hard to find an athlete more deserving of college hockey's most coveted award.
For some college athletes, there is not a lot of hype around them coming into their respective schools. The same can be said for Quinnipiac goalie Andrew Shortridge, who had a 19-25 record with the Vernon Vipers of the BCHL. The question was, after Michael Gartig graduated, who was going to take the reins? Chris Truel was expected to take over, but Shortridge quickly made it clear that he had a case to be the #1 goalie. Shortridge caught fire in the ECAC hockey playoffs that year and led the Bobcats to the semifinals. Prior to his sophomore season, Quinnipiac announced the signing of Keith Petruzzelli, who was picked in the third round of the NHL draft by the Detroit Red Wings. Although many fans expected Petruzzelli to push Shortridge, it became clear that Shortridge was still top dog. And now as the Bobcats near the end of the season, it will be Shortridge who will hope to join the likes of Eric Hartzell and Michael Gartig in helping to lead Quinnipiac to another national championship game.
They say new is good, new is exciting. Well, Quinnipiac Athletics has certainly had a whole lot of new over the past 2 years. New SIDs, new coaches, new stadiums, and new athletes, all tasked with growing their respective programs to new heights. But while the excitement around the next generation of Quinnipiac Athletics continues to build, let's not forget about this incredible senior class. Women's basketball has won 99 games, including 43 straight, 2 MAC championships, and a trip to the Sweet 16, oh by the way. Men's hockey made the Frozen Four, is ranked 6th in the nation, and Chase Prisky is a Hobie Baker nominee. Melissa Samoskevich was drafted 2nd overall in the NWHL draft to the Connecticut Whale, and Cam Young has scored 1,000 points in just 2 years and is ready to lead a men's basketball team who is now a threat in the MAC. Take a good look, Bobcats fans, because although the future is bright, there truly is no time like the present. Well, Kyle, Shane, it was a great debate tonight, but that's all the time we have for more on Quinnipiac Sports. Make sure to check out all of our content by following us on Twitter at Q30 Sports. Check out our websites at Q30TV.com and theQBSN.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Q30 Television. For Kyle Levasseur, Shane Dennehy, and our wonderful production crew, I'm Ryan Flaherty. Have a great night.